That was Dad's.
Yes, Miss Croft. According to Richard's will, in the event of his death, I was to give it to you.
Karakuri. Japanese puzzle.
Technically speaking, you're meant to sign the papers first.
I could never understand your father's obsession with those things.
Wouldn't believe how many of these were lying around the house. There was going to be some purpose to it. The first letter from my final destination.
But you didn't leave a letter?
Quiet on the set!
This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the March 13th, 2018 edition of the Weekly Podioplex, brought to you on the Chronicraft Network. Starting with the box office report, The King of Wakanda is unstoppable as Black Panther wins a fourth straight weekend. The top 12 earned $128.2 million, which is a 16% drop from this time last year, and comes in 8th all time. Let's talk about Black Panther in just a minute, but first, number 11, and Gringo, with $2.7 million. Coming from Amazon Studios, this flick is just under expectations, but also represents one of the worst wide-release per-theater averages ever. Audiences gave it a C+ cinema score, and critics ranged between a 39 and 46%. The normal countdown begins with number 10, and Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, down 3 from 7th. The separation between this film and Spider-Man for Sony's #1 film of all time is $6.5 million. About a week or two left to go. At number 9 is new release Hurricane Heist, premiering at $3 million. That's well under expectations and did not play well for audiences with a B- cinema score. Critics came in around 33%. At 8 is Annihilation, down 2 from 6th. In 7th is Death Wish, down 4 from 3rd. And capping the bottom 5 is Peter Rabbit, down 1 from 5th. The top 5 begins with Game Night, down 1 from 4th with $7.9 million and a total of $45 million. In 4th place is Red Sparrow, down 2 from 2nd with $8.5 million and a new total of $31.5 million. In 3rd place is new release Strangers, Prey at Night, picking up $10.4 million. Right on expectations monetarily, but falling hard with audiences and a C cinema score. Critics are bouncing between a 39 and 49%. In 2nd place is this week's final new release, A Wrinkle in Time, premiering to $33.1 million. And that's just shy of the $35 million expectation, but it's right on track with fellow Disney alumnus Tomorrowland. Audiences gave it a B cinema score, which is okay, but it may help boost the film over the coming weeks. Critics scored it between a 43 and 52%. For a 4th straight week, the winner is Black Panther, adding another $40.8 million to a total of $561.7 million. That is good company for this Marvel film, since the last film to score 4 straight #1 weeks was Star Wars The Force Awakens. Black Panther is the 2nd highest grossing superhero release of all time and the 7th largest overall domestic release of all time. It also now has the 3rd largest 4th weekend of all time, just behind The Force Awakens and Avatar. On the international stage, Black Panther finished its worldwide debuts with China this week, picking up $66.5 million and pushing the film to $516.6 million in international sales. And if you're keeping track at home, that means that Black Panther just broke $1 billion worldwide, and is the 5th film in the MCU to reach this summit. It's also now in the top 20 worldwide grosses of all time. The box office premieres for March 16th are trying to break the Disney hold with a new turn on a classic property. This week's headliner is Tomb Raider, an action-adventure film starring Alicia Vikander, Dominic West, and Walton Goggins.
Hello, Sprout. I knew I could trust you to solve my puzzle. Unfortunately, if you're watching this tape, then it means that I must be dead. It'll be obvious to you by now that there was more to my life than just boardrooms and business deals. Things that I couldn't tell you about before. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to burn all my research on the Himiko project. Just burn all of it, the notebooks, the tapes, everything. It's very important. If it falls into the wrong hands, then it could be catastrophic, so please do it straight away. I know you hate being told what to do, but please promise me that. I hope you never have to see this tape. But if you do, you've found my secret calling.
Lara Croft, the fiercely independent daughter of a missing adventurer, must push herself beyond her limits when she finds herself on the island where her father disappeared. The Tomb Raider franchise and their iconic heroine Lara Croft have been around since 1996. The previous two adaptations, Lara Croft Tomb Raider and Lara Croft Tomb Raider The Cradle of Life, brought Angelina Jolie into the boots of the title character. The first film in 2001 opened to $48 million, and the second one opened to $22 million in 2003. Despite those debuts, the films are the first and sixth place on the list of video game adaptations since 1980. The game series itself was rebooted with a different flair in 2013, and that's the version that this film is based on. Tomb Raider is rated PG-13. The second title is Love, Simon, a romantic drama starring Nick Robinson, Josh Duhamel, and Jennifer Garner.
I've been thinking about why I haven't come out yet. Maybe it's because it doesn't seem fair that only gay people have to come out. Why is straight the default?
I have something I need to tell you.
Mom, there's something I have to tell you.
Can we talk?
Yeah.
I'm straight.
I'm straight. I'm sorry, Mom. It's true.
I like girls.
I like men.
You get that from your dad, is that?
I'm in love with Nick.
I feel like I've been raising a stranger.
Yes, absolutely, you have.
I'm heterosexual.
Oh, God, help me, Jesus, please.
Simon Spear keeps a huge secret from his family, his friends, and all of his classmates. He's gay. When that secret is leaked, Simon must face everyone and come to terms with his identity. This one has the feel of the coming-of-age dramas of the last 20 years. It does look heartfelt and sincere. Love, Simon is rated PG-13. Number 3 on the list is 7 Days in Entebbe, a crime thriller starring Rosamund Pike, Daniel Bruhl, and Eddie Marsan.
Everybody, this is a hijack situation! Nobody look! All stay in your seats and do not move. No one will be harmed. But if anybody tries anything, I will throw this grenade.
Nobody move! Everyone stay in your seat, don't move! I have a bar!
C'est quoi ce bruit?
Sûrement quelqu'un qui a fait tomber une clope, je vais voir. Sit down! Sit! Sit!
We've got the cabin under control. It's 4 of us. We've got weapons and bombs. If you try anything, you will die.
This tale is inspired by the true events of the 1976 hijacking of an Air France flight en route from Tel Aviv to Paris, and the most daring rescue mission ever attempted. 7 Days in Entebbe is rated PG-13. And the last wide release is I Can Only Imagine, a family drama starring J. Michael Finley, Brody Rose, and Dennis Quaid.
Dispenser! No.
What are you trying to do to me? I can't do this. I didn't even try out.
You can, and you will. And there'll be no further discussion about it.
No. Look, I am a Millard. Okay, you don't understand. Millards play football. Millards do not sing.
You have a gift, Bart. And in my class, you will be required to use it. Or fail. It's your choice.
Look, my leg is still in a cast. I can't even walk.
There's 2 months until the production. You have plenty of time to heal. Please stop making excuses.
Okay, I don't sing like that. That Broadway stuff.
I'll teach you.
Look, Miss Fincher, I like you, okay? You seem like a real good person. I respect you, but there is no way, ever, at all, ever, that you are going to get me on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow.
This is the inspiring and unknown true story behind Mercy Me's beloved chart-topping song that brings ultimate hope to so many, and is a gripping reminder of the power of true forgiveness. I Can Only Imagine is rated PG. There are also 7 titles coming to this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of March 13th, and I'll begin with new releases on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list kicks off with The Shape of Water, a fantasy drama starring Sally Hawkins, Michael Shannon, and Richard Jenkins. At a top-secret research facility in the 1960s, a lonely janitor forms a unique relationship with an amphibious creature that is being held in captivity. The Shape of Water is rated R. Number 2 is Justice League, a comic book drama film starring Gal Gadot, Henry Cavill, and Ben Affleck. Earth's greatest heroes are assembled to form the Justice League to combat a threat beyond each individual member's capabilities. Justice League is rated PG-13. Number 3 is The Disaster Artist, a comedy drama starring James Franco, Dave Franco, and Seth Rogen. This is the real-life story of writer and director Tommy Wiseau, the man behind what was often referred to as the Citizen Kane of bad movies, The Room, and is brought to life chronicling the odd film's troubled development and the eventual cult success. The Disaster Artist is rated R. Number 4 is I, Tonya, a sports drama starring Margot Robbie, Sebastian Stan, and Allison Janney. Competitive ice skater Tonya Harding rises among the ranks at the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, but her future in the sport is thrown into doubt when her boyfriend intervenes. I, Tonya is rated R. And number 5 is Ferdinand, an animated comedy starring John Cena, Kate McKinnon, and Gabriel Iglesias. Ferdinand, a little bull, prefers sitting quietly under a cork tree just smelling the flowers versus jumping around, snorting, and butting heads with other bulls. And as he grows big and strong, his temperament remains mellow. But one day, 5 men come to choose the biggest, fastest, roughest bull for the bullfights in Madrid, and Ferdinand is mistakenly chosen. Ferdinand is rated PG. Swinging by new release on digital video, I have Star Wars: The Last Jedi, a space opera film starring Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, and Oscar Isaac. Rey develops her newly discovered abilities with the guidance of Luke Skywalker, who is unsettled by the strength of her powers. Meanwhile, the Resistance prepares to do battle with the First Order. Star Wars: The Last Jedi is rated PG-13. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, we start things there with The Handmaid's Tale, Season 1 from 2017, starring Elizabeth Moss, Yvonne Strahovski, and Joseph Fiennes. Based on Margaret Atwood's award-winning best-selling novel, The Handmaid's Tale is the story of life in the dystopia of Gilead, a totalitarian society in what was formerly the United States. Facing environmental disasters and a plunging birth rate, Gilead is ruled by a twisted, fundamentalist regime that treats women as property of the state. As one of the few remaining fertile women, Offred is a handmaid in the commander's household, one of the castes of women forced into sexual servitude as a last desperate attempt to repopulate a devastated world. In this terrifying society where one wrong word could end her life, Offred must navigate between commanders, their cruel wives, domestic Marthas, and her fellow handmaids, where anyone could be a spy for Gilead, with one goal: to survive and find the daughter who was taken from her. The second TV title is Fear the Walking Dead, Season 3 from 2017, starring Kim Dickens, Cliff Curtis, and Frank Delane. What did the world look like as it was transforming into the horrifying apocalypse depicted in The Walking Dead? This spin-off, set in Los Angeles, following new characters as they face the beginning of the end of the world, will answer that question. As society collapses around them, the families must come together to survive the apocalypse and combat the deadly threats on all sides. And the final TV title is Major Crimes, Season 6 from 2017, starring Mary McDonnell, G.W. Bailey, and Tony Dennison. The elite team of Major Crimes is back for its 6th season with 3 of the most challenging cases yet, struggling to solve mysteries mired in complex political conflicts that move beyond traditional murder cases. As Sharon Rador grows accustomed to her new boss, Assistant Chief Leo Mason, the detectives find themselves questioning their faith in the rapidly changing priorities of the justice system while also managing the difficult changes in their personal relationships. Finally, they must accept the necessity of risk as they prepare to face the inexplicable but undeniable return of Philip Stroh. I'll wrap up the home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past, and this week I bring you A Trip to the Moon, a classic sci-fi adventure film from 1902. Yes, you heard me correctly. 1902. Starring Georges Méliès, Victor Andre, and Bleuette Burnand. A group of men travel to the moon by being shot in a capsule from a giant cannon. They are captured by moonmen, escape, and return to Earth. A Trip to the Moon is rated G. After a brief break for a bout of shameless podcast cross-promotion, the Weekly Podioplex will return.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Cornflake.
So we host the Flopcast.
We cover nerd and geek subjects of all types, but this is sort of a sillier, goofier side of geekdom, I'd say.
We love to talk about music, especially funny music.
We talk about comic books, conventions,
Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh yeah. I'd say if you're going to put the Flopcast in Brady Bunch terms, we're like the cousin Oliver of podcasting. And we do a ridiculous new Flopcast episode every week.
What is wrong with us?
We really have nothing else to do. We're part of the Earth Station 1 podcast network.
And you can find us at flopcast.net.
And welcome back to the Weekly Podioplex. I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. Why? Someone help me understand why. Tom Cruise is starring as Hal Jordan in a Green Lantern movie made by Warner Brothers, and after the mess that was the Mummy reboot and the first Green Lantern movie, I want to know why. I mean, other than Tommy Boy needs to pay the mortgage. Here's the thing, it's not that I have a problem with the idea of bringing Green Lantern back, it's just that it would be with Tom Cruise, and that man was only good in a few movies, and that's when he had a strong script behind him. If the DCEU has taught us anything recently, it's that the script writing is not exactly their forte, and they're more interested in deconstructing a superhero more than making him socially relevant. I say him because they done good with Wonder Woman. If the movie happens, it happens, and I know I just asked why, but I'm not even really going to ask why they would bring back Green Lantern. In this day and age of reboots of movies and television, nothing really surprises me anymore. And in the why do the good die young news, Dirk Gently is never ever coming back to television because the BBC hates us and the universe is awful. Despite an intensive online effort by dedicated fanbase, Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency is closing down for good. Seriously, does everyone hate Douglas Adams? The eclectic series was cancelled by BBC America in December following a slow but steady decline in ratings from a disappointingly received first season. Based on the character created by legendary science fiction satirist Douglas Adams, Dirk Gently centered around the adventures of the titular detective. Rather than using the inductive reasoning methods of Sherlock Holmes in order to solve a crime by considering the clues available to him, Dirk seeks being such a strong word, the solutions to his cases by investigating the fundamental connections between all things. Dirk is assisted in his efforts by his assistant/reluctant best friend, Todd Brotzman. It's a great show. I've been putting off watching season 2 because I don't want it to end. THR reported the official announcement by executive producer Arvind Ethan David, who stated that the efforts to persuade Netflix, who distributed the series internationally, to finance a third season had fallen through, and that efforts to shop the show around had been equally fruitless. Man, I swear, the BBC and ABC have this whole canceling good shows thing down pat. Next, and it's my absolute favorite thing to talk about because, oh, Universal. The Shape of Water producer is mulling over the idea of entering the dark universe. Bah! I just can't. I love this crap. J. Miles Dale and Guillermo del Toro are intrigued by Universal Studios' classic monster library, but have not yet discussed making films for the studio's dark universe. Wasn't that on hold the last time I reported about it? Less than a week ago, The Shape of Water made history with all the awards it took home from the Oscars. Okay, alright, let's pause here. I have not yet seen The Shape of Water, so I can't really talk about it, but is it really the best one out of the bunch of Del Toro movies that it should have taken home so many Oscars? Surely! Pan's Labyrinth is the one that deserves them, but I digress. Anyway, speaking with Screen Rant, Dale talked about any potential interest he and Del Toro have in taking over the dark universe if the opportunity presented itself. He said, "We haven't really talked about it. I've made 7 movies for Universal and know and love them well, and they're doing their own thing now after The Mummy." Nah. It's interesting, Guillermo actually pitched them a version of this movie, The Shape of Water, of a remake of Creature, but I think at a certain point when they heard that the girl and the monster get it on, they were like, oh, okay, here's your parking validation, you can go now. It's a very strong IP for them, and they're going to do whatever they want. It's such a bigger project for them, but we haven't really talked about it. I know Guillermo has thoughts on all those movies. He's got thoughts on Frankenstein, he's had thoughts on Bride, and certainly he's not going to be remaking Creature from the Black Lagoon now. I feel he's done his version of that, but we haven't talked about it, and certainly wish them luck. Okay. Yeah, okay. Here's my take on this. Y'all know how I feel about the Dark Universe and the idea that Alex Kurtzman put forward that it would explore the deep humanity of these monsters. It's crap. If you're going to make monster movies, make monster movies. Monsters are only as good as their motivations. You can't make Dracula a tragic hero. No, hold on. Yeah, they did. You can, but you have to keep to the core of his characterization, which is that of a boyar. He's an aristocrat who takes because of his own selfish wants. He doesn't care what anybody else thinks, he wants. To make him anything but that is to betray the basic tenet of his characterization and also to make him Louis Lestat de Lioncourt, but whatever. Conversely, to turn the Wolfman into a killing machine without the existential tragedy is a man who is tortured by this curse that he cannot help to betray the subtext within that story as well. Jekyll and Hyde, Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Mummy. God, I want to talk about that movie so bad. Actually, no, I want to take the script and beat Tom Cruise over the head with it. Him and Kurtzman both. So anyway, okay, the point is you can translate these movies however you want, but the core of a monster movie is that you have to have a monster there. The definition of a monster can be as loose or as solid as you want it to be, but there has to be a monster in it, and not a caricature. Monsters have staying powers because they tell us something about ourselves. They unveil a part of us we might not necessarily want to see, and if you strip that away, if you explore the humanity of what a monster is, you're defeating the purpose and the thing that made these movies so great. Want a good example of how to translate a monster movie and explore the humanity of monsters? Frankenstein Chronicles. Next, Black Panther has crossed the $1 billion mark, earning $1.78 billion as of Sunday, March 11th. I'm not saying any more. Finally, Dungeons & Dragons may be headed to the UK in a reboot movie. Dude, guys, I just bought the old D&D movie. You remember the one from the 90s? That live-action one? Oh my god, it's just as bad as I remember it. I still do not regret my life choices, though I think I might have lost some respect over it. While little is known about the latest attempt to create a film based on Dungeons & Dragons, it now appears that the production will be filming in England. The film also is only recently pegged down the Lego Batman movie director Chris McKay. It's really not just about the directing, though, is it? You gotta have a good story, or at least someone who has DM'd before to write the movie. Without that experience, it's just not gonna work. The film is slated for July 23rd, 2021. The script is still being worked on, though it hasn't been announced who's writing, and there are currently no actors attached. I will keep you guys updated as more news becomes available. And still, unashamedly listen to the 90s version as background noise. Don't you dare judge me! And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. I'll see you guys next time on the Weekly Podioplex.
Thank you, Denise. And here we are once again at the end of a new edition of the Weekly Podioplex. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition or the show in general, we would love to hear from you. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you think we could do better. Give us more email than spam. Seriously, we got a lot of spam in that box. I want to see real people. You can surf on over to the Chronic Rift homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there on the website using your microphone. Just click the widget that says send voicemail and follow the prompts. You can also write an email or send an MP3 to weeklypodioplex@gmail.com, or even go short form with Twitter. The Chronic Rift is chronic_rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith, all one word. And I am Womprat99. Like the creature Luke Bullseye in his T16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio. Leave us a review on iTunes, and you can find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook. The usual disclaimer applies, of course. If you leave us feedback, you may hear your words on a future edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Don't let that scare you. Take a moment, stop on by, and see what the shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. The main show is making a comeback in 2018 and is offered weekly via Facebook Live on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Grab a cuppa and join in the fun, or download the audio version later in the podcast feed. We also explore our favorite aspects of genre entertainment with the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, presenting the transcription feature, the Dan and Travis Show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, Doctor Who and Mr. Drew, the Home Game Show version podcast, and so much more. If you have a Roku player, you can treat it like a time machine with the Chronic Rift's Roku channel, where you can find episodes of the Chronic Rift's adventures in the 1990s when it was a public access television show on the New York City airwaves. No Roku, no problem, because John is also uploading those episodes to YouTube and Facebook. And we're up to Season 2 right now with Keith and Andrea K. Lipinski. Check us out and find the culture in pop culture. If you're interested in more of my adventures, take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who from the very beginning of that franchise, and reviewing those tales in the Timestamps Project. This week, I am continuing the trial of the Time Lord with the 23rd season, the 6th Doctor, and the Terror of the Vervoids. And you can find that review and so many more at creativecriticality.wordpress.com. You can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as an artist and a cover designer. She did the logo work for Creative Criticality, and I am a little biased, but I think she does great work. If you need some art, check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make that store supports the Chronic Rift Network. Your support keeps us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, there are adventures in drama, comedy, and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. Get some popcorn, find your favorite seat, and enjoy the journey.